Welcome to the Coastal Kitchen. I'm Karen Mashures, and today we're in a month that has an R in it. And there's only one more left, so I figured I'd better do some oysters. Oysters Rockefeller is what we're doing today, and the original recipe came from Antoine's in New Orleans. And nobody knows the secret recipe, so we all have our own versions, and today I'll be doing mine. We're going to have, to accompany that, Johnny cakes, the old style, also known as journey cakes. We're going to have some new potatoes that have been slightly baked and slightly boiled. Then, for dessert, lemon meringue pie. So we're ready to get started. I've got some water boiling in my double boiler. This is a real easy recipe. You just have to make sure everything goes in the right order. Okay, I have got 1.5 cups of sugar, just granulated sugar. I've got 4 tablespoons of cornstarch and 4 tablespoons of flour, all purpose. Get that in. And I have just 1/2 teaspoon of salt. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is whisk that together and turn on my hot water. All right, nice and mixed in. I need 1.5 cups of boiling water. And it is definitely boiling. All right, we're going to whisk this in. And I'm going to grab my pan. And this is going to go directly on the heat. I'm going to move the double boiler out of the way. Directly on the heat, medium. And we're going to watch this thicken. I'm just going to stir it until we get the right consistency. All right, you can see how thick this has gotten, and this is exactly the way it's supposed to be. So I'm going to turn this down a little bit. I'm going to put it on top of my double boiler, and lid goes on, and it's going to cook for 20 minutes just as it sits. I'm not even going to stir it one time. While that's going on, let me bring you over here to my lemons. I've got 6 tablespoons of lemon. This is going to make a wonderful flavor. While that's cooking, I'm going to take just a minute and zest some lemon. And you need about 2 tablespoons. All right. 2 lemons just about do it. That looks great. Okay, I'm going to put that right here. I'm going to take my eggs. Now, I use 5 egg whites for the meringue, but I'm only using 4 eggs in the filling. So let's get these ready. All right, last egg. And I'm going to take a quick look and see what's happening over here. Looks great. We've got about 15 more minutes to go. We've just got to wait our 20 minutes. Okay, it's looking good. Now it's time to get our pie crust into the oven. Now, my oven is set to 400 degrees, and I am using a pre-baked pie shell. And you can get a wonderful recipe for pastry on our website, or you can go to Facebook and search for the Coastal Kitchen. We've got recipes there. Now, with this pie crust, what I'm going to do is I've got some beans, because I'm going to blind bake, and I'm just going to give a couple of little pricks with my fork. And I'm going to bake this for about 8 minutes with the beans in it, and then I'm going to take it back out and finish baking another 5 or 6 minutes. I have got my pan in the oven already. It's preheated, so it really helps the bottom not get mushy. All right, now that's going to stay in for a total of 12 minutes. We've got about 14 minutes left on our filling to come to the next stage, so let's find something fun to do while we wait. All right, well, I got to clean up a little bit while I've been waiting on my first part of the filling, and I'm just going to gently beat my egg yolks. Just make sure they're all ready. Now, let me grab this. And I'm going to turn that off. All right, you can see how stiff this is at this point in time. I'm just going to take my whisk and whisk it around a little bit. I'm going to put in a tablespoon of butter. Whisk that around. Now I'm going to put in my lemon juice. I'm going to measure it because I think I may have put just a little bit more in that bowl than... Nope, I'm really pretty good at this. Okay, straight in. It's time for the lemon zest. Makes you think of summer when you're making a lemon meringue pie. This is hot, and I'm going to temper it. What I'm going to do is take about a teaspoon and whisk it in to get the eggs used to the heat so it doesn't curdle. All right, let's start whisking. Get this last little bit in. Okay, this is going to go back on the heat, directly on the heat, and we're going to cook this for another about 5 minutes so it thickens back up again. So let's take this over here, move this out of the way. Okay, we're going to keep this back on low, and we have to whisk this until it's all thickened. All right, nice and thick. It takes about 5 minutes extra on the stove at the end. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit this over here to cool. I have gotten my pie crust out and it's cooling. It's just about cool right now. We're going to have to let this sit until it cools down, and then we'll put this in the filling and finish up making our meringue. All right, everything's cooled down, so it's time to put my filling in my pie crust. And I'm just going to gently get that straight in. Okay. Let me grab a little spatula to get this off. Okay, it's time to make our meringue. Let's start out. I've got 5 egg whites, and it's going to go into my noisy stainless steel bowl. And I'm going to start on high. Okay, you can see this is a little stiff but still fluffy. We're going to add 5 tablespoons of sugar. That's 1 for each egg, and I'm going to add them about 1 at a time. Okay, I think we've just about got it. You can see great peaks. Okay. I like all of that. Now, I'm going to spread this over the top of my pie. And I'm going to make sure that I get the outer edges first. And I'm just going to put it on and slide it down. I want air bubbles out. Okay, last little bit is right there. Now, I'm going to take a spoon, a small spoon, and I'm just going to make some wispy peaks. All right, I'm going to put this back on the pan that I had it on before, and we're going to place this in a 350 oven for 5 minutes. We're going to let these peaks get nice and golden brown. This is where you need to make sure you watch it. All right, we're going to watch this. I'm going to take a fast break. We'll have a word from our sponsor, and this will be out in about 5 minutes. We'll start with our oysters, Rockefeller.
Most people couldn't fit 200 local farms on their table. Well, that's where we come in. For the very best of everything local, Lowe's Foods.
Welcome back. I'm starting on my version of Oysters Rockefeller. I'm cutting up a shallot. I need about 2 tablespoons. And I've got 2 or 3 little things that I've got to do before we start with the main dish. So the first thing I'm going to do is put in some bacon into my oven at 350. Just slide it in about 10 to 12 minutes. That's got to stay in there. I want it nice and crispy. Okay, got my onion. Now, in my pan, I'm going to put a whole stick of butter. This is room temperature, and we're just going to let it melt. Okay, got that going. Finish up with this little bit of shallot. Okay. Now, I have chopped up some baby spinach, and I'm going to chop up the very last little bit of it. And it doesn't have to be super fine, just nice and chopped. And I have got about 16 ounces, makes about 8 cups. If you want, you can use frozen spinach, but I like to use the fresh ones. All right, our butter is going. You can hear that sizzle. I'll tell you what, it's going to go down just a little bit lower. I'm going to get my shallot and right in. Want that to start sauteing. All right, this butter is starting to brown just a little tiny bit. The shallots smell phenomenal, and I'm going to turn this up just a little bit, and I'm going to put in my spinach just over the top. Remember, it will wilt down. Give it a little stir. And now I'm going to add a cup of water. I might have to add just a little bit more, but we're going to start off with a cup. We're going to let this cook for about 5 minutes. Just watch it carefully. This looks lovely. I'm going to let that sit just a minute. I've got it on low. I'm going to grab my bacon out. It should be just about ready. Okay, nice and crispy. All right, I'm going to put this over here. Let that cool down just a minute. And we'll go on to our next step. We have got some lemon juice that we're going to use. And I've said teaspoon. Well, I like lemon more than that. This is to taste. So if you like lemon like I do, just put as much in it as you think you'd like. This is the way I like it. Okay, let's grab this. Give it another little stir. We're going to throw in a little bit of salt. A little bit of nutmeg. And I like the nutmeg in it because it has a little bit of a Greek flair. I like the flavors when you mix it with the oyster. A little bit of nutmeg, and I can't do it without just a little bit of hot. So a little bit of cayenne, just a touch. That should do it. If you like, you don't have to put this with oysters. You can use it just as a creamed spinach. Okay, next we've got sour cream, 2 cups. Give that a little stir. Surprise ingredients, cream cheese. And I'm going to use about 6 ounces. Just plop that right in. It's at room temperature, so it'll start to incorporate. All the cream cheese is just about completely melted. I'm going to get some Parmesan. It's been ready for me for a few minutes. I'm going to put a couple of good handfuls in here. Close to a cup. Let's stir that in. Alright, this is ready to go into a casserole dish. And I have got one buttered just on the bottom and a little bit up the sides. Let's see if I can hold this with a pot holder here. Okay, this is going to go in our oven, 350, for about 40 minutes. I want it to set up just a little bit more than this. All right, let's start with our oysters. I have gotten a lot of them done. Let me grab what I need out of the fridge. I saved 3 to show you exactly how I do it. Okay, I have reserved the liquor from the oysters, and I have taken them completely out of the shells. So let's see if I can get this over here. There's a little one. We'll use that. Don't worry about the top because we're going to throw that one away. Just cut the membrane away from that. Pull it away. Pour in the liquor. And I'm just going to rinse this just a touch so it's nice and clean, and put it on my rock salt. How easy is that? Alright, last one. In, a little rinse. We're going to put that one right here. Now, what I'm going to do, grab a fork. Let me get this out of the way. And I'm going to take an oyster and put it in each clean shell. Try to match up the big ones with the big ones. Last one, and there's even a little tiny crab in there. Now, let me grab my spoon, and I'm just going to take just a tiny little bit of the oyster liquor and put in each oyster shell. Just a little bit. Okay, got that. Now, I'm just going to set these aside while we wait for our spinach to finish, and then we'll finish these oysters. The spinach is done, so let's get it on our oysters. I'm just going to take about a teaspoon and lay right over the top. Want it to cover. Okay, last one. I'm going to cover it up good. And now it's time to finish them off. I'm going to crumble some bacon up, put on the top, and let's get a couple of those done. Just put some Parmesan cheese sprinkled right on the top, and I'm going to pop these in the oven. They're going to be in a 400-degree oven for about 15 minutes. They'll be perfect when they come out. We'll do our Johnny cake and our potatoes, and we'll be ready to sit down and have something to eat.
The Coastal Kitchen would like to say thank you to our sponsors at Holden Brothers Farm Market in Charlotte for supplying the fresh produce on this week's show. Swing by their indoor market located near mile marker 10 on Highway 17 or check them out online at holdenbrothersfarmmarket.com.
Welcome back. I've got my potatoes out of the pot. They are hot, and I'm cutting the ends off of each one of them. Gonna throw it in this bowl here. I want them to be able to stand up. And I'm just taking a small spoon and I'm cutting sort of a moon-shaped hole right in the center, and I'm going to put it in my little baking dish. And then I'll show you the treat that we're going to have. Last one. And save these pieces because they're great to put some of these toppings on too. Alright, I'm going to take some EVOO and I'm just going to do a little drizzle. Just a little bit on each one. And now I'm going to take just a little bit of sour cream and put right in the hole. I want it to come out the top just a little bit because I want it to melt down over the sides. Alright, last one. Now I'm just going to take this, put it into a 350 oven, about 5 minutes. Then I'm going to turn it on broil because I want the tops to get a little bit crispy. I've got everything set up for my Johnny cakes, so we're ready to make one of the easiest things you will ever make. Got some all-purpose flour and 2/3 of a cup of stone ground cornmeal, and I'm just going to whisk that together. I've got some baking powder and some salt. Just throw it right in. I'm going to put my pan on my heat. I've already got that turned on. So let's put that on. The bacon grease that I reserved from the oysters, I have gotten a little bit in that pan. Alright, I've got hot milk and melted butter. That's going to go right in. And I've got some boiling water. And I need 2 tablespoons of boiling water. And it really does need to be boiling. Just mix this up. Don't want to spend too much time mixing it. Now it's time for our eggs. Have 2 eggs. Just put those right in. Alright, look good there. Now, I'm going to grab a spoon and I'm going to stir in some shallots. I thought this would go along with our meal. Johnny cake is really pretty plain, and you can jazz it up if you want to. Okay, let's stick that right. I better take that with me. Okay, I've got a little bit of oil and I've got my bacon grease. I'm just going to take a little bit of oil, mix it with my bacon grease. Hot skillet. And what you want to do is take about 2 tablespoons and you've got to knock it off and let it start cooking. And you'll want to get this brown around the edges before you turn it over. It takes anywhere between 2 minutes, depending on your heat and your frying pan, to 5 minutes per side. Usually a little bit less on the second side. So let's get this ready. Let's take a peek. Okay, they're just about ready to flip. Now I'm going to take a little bit of oil and a little bit of bacon grease and just lay a little bit on the top. Just dab it just a little bit. Now just give it a little press down. Want to flatten it out a little bit. Okay, these will be ready in about a minute. I'm going to put my potatoes on broil for about a minute, and we will be ready to come back and take a look at all the goodies that we've got.
Most people couldn't fit 200 local farms on their table. Well, that's where we come in. For the very best of everything local, Lowe's Foods.
Thank you for joining us at the Coastal Kitchen. We've had a rockin' good time. Oysters Rockefeller my way, Johnny cakes, potatoes with sour cream, and lemon meringue pie. What a wonderful day to spend eating oysters. Just remember, you can find us on Facebook. Just search for the Coastal Kitchen. And we'll see you next time, because I've got to try this oyster. I am ready. Delicious.